ومن والاه وبعد. Okay. Last week we stopped at when we were talking about the different types of problems in the narration, and we mentioned the different types. We were talking about where were we? We talked about the mu'allaq, yes, and we spoke about munqati'. We talked about al-mursal, and we talked about al-mu'dal, and then we talked about tadlis al-isnad, and we mentioned some of tadlis al-taswiyah. We mentioned it, but we'll cover it again properly. Okay, so what is mu'allaq? What was mu'allaq? Yes, it's hanging. How is it hanging? How was it hanging?
There's one person, there's people missing consecutively from the beginning to the end of the narration.
Nearly. Consecutively at the beginning. At the beginning of a chain. So one person or more than one person, but they have to be consecutive, who are missing at the beginning of the chain. It could be the whole chain itself. Like we had the example of Bukhari saying, قال Abu Hurairah. So between Abu Hurairah and Bukhari, there's quite a lot of people. He just cut them all out and said, قال Abu Hurairah. So this is mu'allaq because it's from the beginning of the isnad. Remember, the isnad begin not from the side of the Prophet. They begin from the other side. They begin from the side of the muhaddith. They end with the Prophet ﷺ, the Sahabi of the Prophet ﷺ. That's where they end. So that was mu'allaq. Okay, what was munqati' then? Yes, it's cut off. I'm not really interested in the meaning of the word. I'm more interested in what it was. What's the usage?
The narrators are missing somewhere in the middle.
Okay, narrate one or more consecutively. Without it being consecutive, it doesn't have to be consecutive, but they have to be missing within the middle of the chain. So it could be in two different places. What about mursal? Yes, mursal is considered weak, but what is it?
No, the Sahabi is missing.
The Sahabi is missing, the Tabi'i saying the Prophet ﷺ said. Whose exception did we give? Which Tabi'i, if he says the Prophet ﷺ said, then we accept it, because he only narrates from companions. No, not Sufyan al-Thawri. Sa'id ibn al-Musayyib. Sa'id ibn al-Musayyib. There's a story about him. Do you want to hear the story about him? Yes? He was sitting in the majlis teaching in the Prophet's masjid. He was one of the teachers in the Prophet's masjid. And he had a big circle. One of his students is, I forgot the student's name now, but that student happened not to be there in the lesson that day because his wife passed away. So he missed the dars because his wife had to bury his wife and do everything to do with that. So he missed the lesson. So in this lesson, the Khalifa sent a messenger to Sa'id ibn al-Musayyib asking for his daughter's hand in marriage. Okay, so in front of everyone, the messenger comes in while Sa'id is giving his dars about hadith, narrating hadith, and says the Sa'id doesn't pay any attention to who's come. The messenger just stands until somebody indicates and there's somebody waiting. Says, okay, what do you want? He knows this is from the Khalifa. That's why he's ignoring him. Because Sa'id ibn Musayyib hated the Khulafa. He wanted nothing to do with them. So the messenger said to him, I've come from the Khalifa. Khalifa wants your daughter's hand in marriage for himself. Okay? Somebody said that to you and you had a daughter and it's the Khalifa and in front of everyone, you're going to have to, even if you don't want to, you have to give in. Okay? Especially when the Khalifa could do anything to you. Sa'id said to him, tell the Khalifa, no. Go. Went. Later on, his student came to him to the house to apologize for him not attending the dars. So he asked him, why didn't you come to the lesson? He said, because my wife passed away. He said, subhanallah, okay, you don't have any other wife? He says, no. Okay, he said, come to me tomorrow, I'm going to marry you my daughter. So he thought he was joking. So he went home, he's just thinking, Sa'id ibn Musayyib is joking. So he went home. Next day he didn't go to Sa'id because he thought it was a joke. Sa'id came bringing his daughter to his house and saying, what's happening? I've given you my daughter. So then they did the contract, and he left his daughter in the house. Then his mother took care of everything that had to do with the marriage or whatever. And then so then the student wanted to go to the dars of Sa'id ibn Musayyib after he spent some time with his wife. So she said to him, where are you going? He said, I'm going to the dars of your father. She said, all of the knowledge of my father is with me, just sit down. And he studied, and many people came and studied from the daughter of Sa'id ibn Musayyib after the death of Sa'id ibn Musayyib. So not only did he get a wife, he got like a copy of Sa'id ibn Musayyib. Just because Sa'id ibn Musayyib didn't want the Khalifa to come again and ask for marriage. So he needed to get rid of his daughter, marry her off quickly, so the Khalifa doesn't come and ask again. So he married her to somebody who was poor, had nothing, but was one of his students. So this is what is mentioned. But it's not about Sa'id ibn Musayyib. He was very harsh against the rulers. They used to call him and he used to tell them, go away, I'm not coming. Tell the ruler I'm not coming. And the messengers would say to him, but how can we go back to the Khalifa and say that you're not coming? He said, just tell him, I'm not coming. And sometimes the Khalifa, because he knew, would come himself to Sa'id ibn Musayyib and sit at the dars of Sa'id ibn Musayyib, and Sa'id ibn Musayyib wouldn't even look at him. And would wait until he finished before he would speak to the Khalifa. That's how much respect he had for the Khulafa. Anyway, that was a whole different time. Now we have a different time. Anyway, that was Sa'id ibn Musayyib. You should read the biography of Sa'id ibn Musayyib. You'll be amazed by the biography of Sa'id ibn Musayyib. From any books of history. Tarikh al-Kabir. Sayyir A'lam al-Nubala. They're all in Arabic, unfortunately. I don't think there's any.
They think it's available.
There is? Really?
No, the book, the life on Sayyid ibn Musayyib is available.
Okay, so read the life of Sa'id ibn Musayyib. It's very good. We need to know about our ulama, what they were like. Because the ulama of today are not like the ulama of the past. The ulama of today are much different than the ulama of the past. Anyway, okay, what was al-Mu'adal? The next one was, we did Mursal, what was al-Mu'adal? You have to know these inside out. Because you could be reading a text and he mentions, this hadith is Mu'adal, and moves on. If you don't know what they mean, then you're going to be lost. What is Mu'adal? Let me go back and revise. What is Mu'adal? After 10 hours I come back to what I was reading. What was al-Mu'adal? It should be second hand. What is al-Mu'adal?
It's missing the link from any part of the chain. It's not from the beginning.
Okay, it could be missing, yes. Any part. فأكثر على التوالي, but it has to be consecutive.
It has to be.
But it could be at the beginning, it could be in the middle, it could be at the end. But it must be consecutive. Okay, what was Tadlis al-Isnad? Hiding someone in the teacher. It could be one or more than one. But normally it's hiding of the teacher, because the teacher is weak. So you hide them, and normally between the person who's hidden and the other two sides, those two could have the student was the student was taught by the teacher, but he didn't hear that hadith from him. Yeah? So that's how he hides it. So if you didn't know, you would assume that he heard this from him. So in that way he hides the teacher. And we mentioned an example of it. And in the example it was we had Ibn Uyayna and Zuhri. And then when Ibn Uyayna was asked, did you hear the hadith from Zuhri? He said, even though Zuhri is a teacher of Ibn Uyayna, Ibn Uyayna said, I didn't hear it from Zuhri know from the one who heard it from Zuhri. But either I heard it from Abdul Razzaq, who heard it from Ma'mar, who heard it from Zuhri. So the narration is authentic. But he hid two people. Because that shortens the chain. And the scholars like shortening chains. And because Ibn Uyayna was a student of Zuhri. So it's possible that Ibn Uyayna heard that narration from Zuhri. But when they asked Zuhri, when they asked Ibn Uyayna, he said, no, I didn't hear it. No, neither from Zuhri, nor from the one who heard it from Zuhri. Then we had Tadlis al-Taswiyah. What was Tadlis al-Taswiyah? We'll go over that one again because we kind of like stopped in the middle of doing it. It was that the narrator drops a weak narrator between two authentic or trustworthy narrators who these two met and lived in the same time period. So he drops a narrator in the chain, drops somebody in the chain between two trustworthies, where these two trustworthy people did meet and lived in the same time period. But this hadith they didn't take from each other. So because they met and because they lived in the time period, it's possible they could have heard from each other. Yes? However, they didn't hear this narration. There's somebody missing there. This is Tadlis at-Taswiyah. Taswiyah is to make similar. And because they were in the similar time and and they met, this is why it's called Tadlis at-Taswiyah. And it's one of the difficult problems to find in the narration. So we gave the example, حدثني أبو وهب الأسدي أن نافع عن ابن عمر لا تحمد إسلام مر حتى تعرف عقدة رأي. Don't praise the religion of a person until you know the soundness of his opinions. So the person who's missing is between who? Between Al-Asadi and Nafi' there is a person. And that person is Ishaq ibn Abi Farwa, and he's weak. Okay. However, Abu Wahid al-Asadi and Nafi' met and they lived in the same time period. So it's possible they could have heard from that. Al-Asadi could have heard from Nafi'. However, he didn't. But by dropping it, you won't know automatically that he didn't hear it. Who did this? It was Baqiyya. Baqiyya is the one who dropped the person because he wanted to make the narration authentic or hide the weakness in the narration. And then we mentioned, did you have a question? ولا يرفع هذا النوع إلا إذا حدث في جميع الطبقات بعده وليس الأمر كذلك في التدليس التسوية. The difference between this one, tadlis, and the tadlis before it is in the tadlis al-isnad, the one who is a mudallis, who's dropping his sheikh, has to say that for us to accept the narration is that I heard this from the next person. For us to accept it. If he says I heard it, then we can accept it from him. Whereas in Tadlis al-Taswiyah, he must say that each person in the chain heard it from the other person for us to accept the narration. Because he could drop somebody from anywhere. Whereas Tadlis al-Isnad, he only drops his sheikh and not in the whole chain. So in Tadlis al-Isnad, he only has to say that he heard it from his sheikh, from the person next to him. Whereas in Tadlis al-Taswiyah, he must mention that each person in the chain heard it from the next person for us to accept it from him. That's the difference between them.
So it's from the people who are known to do these things.
From the people who are known. If you know in this chain, as soon as you see, like for example, you see Baqiyya, you say, okay, khalas. Baqiyya means everybody after him has to say that they heard it from the person next. If they say an, then okay, we're going to stop right there and then say there's a problem. And try and find the problem. If it's Tadlis al-Isnad, then we only say who's known as a mudallis, like Al-Thawri or Ibn Uyayna is Mudallis, we say, did you actually hear it? If you said I heard it, okay, khalas, no problem. If you didn't hear it, then no. Then we have to find out who is missing in the chain. Okay, any question on that? We mentioned some of the people. Baqiya ibn al-Walid, that's what one we had. Walid ibn Muslim. Walid ibn Muslim was known for his piety. However, he does this. Al-A'mash was known for being one of the greatest scholars of hadith, but he does this. Al-Thawri, again, Imam of hadith, but he does this as well. And then Muhammad ibn Musaffa, he does it as well. Okay, any question on Tadlis al-Taswiyah before we move to Al-Irsal al-Khafi? No? Okay, good.
Tadlis Taswiyah is dropping the guy. It could be after Shaykh or Shaykh.
It could be anywhere in the Isnad.
It's not Tadlis. It's just.
It's normally after his Shaykh. But it doesn't have to be just one, it could be more than one person that he drops. Like in that example, he dropped two. He dropped Abdul Razak and he dropped Ma'mar as well. They were both directly after him. Okay, Irsal al-Khafi. The Irsal which is quite hidden. And that is for the narrator to narrate a hadith from a teacher who he lived in the same time period of and met him but didn't hear it from him in a way that it indicates that he heard it from him. So here the sheikh that he's narrating from is not his sheikh. Okay? However, he lived in the same time period and he met this sheikh, but he's not his teacher. Where Tadlis al-Isnad, it was his teacher. Okay? So that's the difference here. And he mentions it in a way that is possible that one would assume that he might have heard it.
What's this one called?
This is called Al-Irsal al-Khafi. Al-Irsal al-Khafi. The example of it, ما روى ابن ماجه من طريق عمر بن عبد العزيز عن عقبة بن عامر مرفوعا رحم الله حارس الحرس. Okay, let me change that definition again. What did I say? He drops the sheikh, who's not his actual teacher, but he lived in the same time period and met him.
Yeah.
It says and or met him. And or met him. So it's possible he met him, possible he didn't meet him. So it could be either way. So he mentions this narration where he didn't meet the sheikh. So Ibn Majah from his way, from Umar ibn Abdul Aziz, from Uqba, from Amir, marfu'an, from the Prophet ﷺ. So Al-Mizzi, talking about this narration, Mizzi is another scholar of hadith, says that Umar ibn al-Khattab, Umar ibn Abdul Aziz, didn't hear from Uqba. Even though they lived in the same time period, but he didn't meet him either. So they lived in the time period. So that means it's possible they could have met. Yes? And it's possible he could have learnt from him. However, he didn't hear from him and he didn't meet him. How do they know that? How do they know that? How do they know that this Umar ibn Abdul Aziz didn't meet Uqba?
Some other sources.
From the scholars of before them. Just like the hadith are passed down, biographies are passed down. And they normally mention what problems existed with this narrator. So this is one of the things I would mention. That Umar ibn Abdul Aziz narrates from such and such, however he never met him and never heard from him, and he's not from his teachers. Or sometimes from the companions, from a tabi who claims to have, who is narrating from a companion. They'll say this tabi narrates from Aisha, for example. but he never met Aisha, never heard from her, even though he lived in the same time period that Aisha lived. So there's somebody he's narrating from. Okay, so that was Irsal al-Khafi. Any questions on that?
So who is actually Umar bin Abdul Aziz actually heard it from? Or did he not?
He doesn't mention. Here the Shaykh doesn't mention.
So how would you go from the
So as long as we don't know, we say that this chain is weak. This chain is weak, and so may Allah have mercy upon the guardian of the guardians, the guardians of the boundaries. That's what the hadith, this narration is saying. This hadith is saying, but with this chain, it's weak because we don't know who is between Umar ibn Abdul Aziz and Uqba. If we find another chain, it could be authentic. If we find who's missing, then we can mention if the chain is authentic or not. But like this, we don't know. We need to do further research. Yes.
Do we know who caused this? Who said this?
Umar ibn Abdul Aziz is saying it.
Oh,
Here, there's no one else as far as we know saying it. It's Umar ibn Abdul Aziz is saying an.
Oh,
He's the one who's saying it. So he's doing irsal here. He's missing somebody out.
so every time there's a ham, you have to find out why.
An is always a problem. It's problematic with people who do tadlis or irsal. If it's known that they don't ever do this, then an is not a problem. But if somebody is known to do this, then you stop and say, okay, now we need to check. An or an, both are problematic. Any other question? Yeah.
Yeah, how would you find out the missing link?
You have to check you take the, how would you check? I've mentioned this before. How do you check and find out who's missing?
Look at all the narrations.
Pick up all the chains and follow up.
But how would you find all the chains?
That's the books.
You have to take the wording of what the Prophet ﷺ said, and find all of the chains that have come with that same wording. And then look through all of them to see who's missing.
You know what?
Or you find what the scholars of the hadith before said, who's missing. That will make it easier for you. Yes.
Let's say that you can narrate hadith, or hadith can narrate bil ma'na, with this meaning. Could you also bring hadith which are similar meaning or wording together to find
It's possible, yes. That would be more difficult. Then you have to take words from the hadith, which will make life more difficult. If you can find these exact words, it would be easier. Okay. The next thing he talks about is تكلم عن الراوي الذي ذكر اسمه. Remember, all of the questions that we've been talking about, all the things that we've been talking about, is about the narrator who has not been mentioned, his name, or his existence. Yes? And remember, there's a whole other branch. What was the other branch? No, the other branch. No, the other. No, above that level. The one his name has been mentioned. Okay, so we had the branch. Yes, the one who hadn't been mentioned, the one who has been mentioned, and then the one who hasn't been mentioned. We broke into two parts. The one who is not mentioned but exists. Yeah, and the one who is not mentioned and doesn't exist in the chain. Okay, then we dealt with that whole side of the branch. Now we're moving on to the other branch at the top. The one who has been mentioned by name. So he says the one who's been mentioned by name is of two types. Again, now we've dealt with one side of the branches, and now we're going to branch out to the other side. Break that down into two types as well. You have to have this tree diagram in your brain. Keep making branches. If we were in the shed, I would make the branches for you. But yeah, I know there's a board behind me, but I'm not going to do it. I have to turn around and do it. Then we have to find out where the pens are and everything. It's too much effort. Just imagine. Okay. The first category of them is لم يتكلم فيه وهو المجهول عينا وحالا. That his name is mentioned, but none of the scholars have mentioned him. None of the scholars have spoken about him, have given us a biography of him. So he is known as Majhul al-Ain wal-Hal. He's unknown in person and his situation. We don't know who he is. We don't have any biography of him. And we don't know if he's trustworthy or not trustworthy. This is Majhul al-Ain, which we don't know who he is. We don't have any biography of him. And Majhul al-Hal, we don't know his situation. Is he acceptable or unacceptable? Okay, that's the first category. Then we have the second category of those people whose names I mentioned. You should really break them into three, but okay, we'll say no problem. Is those people who there is a biography about. Okay, so we know who they are, and they've been mentioned with jarh or ta'deel. Either disparaging words have been said about them only, or what's the opposite of disparaging? Approval or praising words have been said about them only, or both praising and dispraising or disparaging words have been said about them. There can only be three categories. Yes? Either they've been praised only, or they've been disparaged only, or they have both. Okay, and that exists. You find narrators who the scholars only say good things about, and no one said anything bad about, like the A'immah. Okay, like Al-Thawri and Imam Malik, Imam Shafi'i, Imam Ahmad, Yahya ibn Ma'in, and so on. The A'immah, there's only praise. Then you have people that there's only the opposite of praise. They're bad. You can't accept anything they say. They were inaccurate in everything they narrated. They came up with things that nobody ever had heard of. All these things are part of jarh. They made up stories. Okay, all of this, and even worse than that. He's a Dajjal. He's a Kadhab. Okay, these are, or some of them will just spit when his name is mentioned. These are all jarh. These are considered. It's not for us to do that. Yes, but this is how they were sometimes. Not even he's a shaitan. All of these things have been said. You find them about narrators, not about scholars. I was going to say such and such scholar is a Dajjal. No. These are talking about narrators. Narrators could not be. A narrator is anybody who has a narration with them and is passing on the narration. He doesn't have to even understand what he's passing on. He's just passing on what he heard. Doesn't have to be a scholar at all. Then we have the third category where there is praise, but there is also criticism. Oh, that's a better word. Criticism. Okay, so they could say he was a righteous person, but he made up a lot of stories. Okay, so here he's praising him that he's righteous, but he made up a lot. So don't take the hadith. Or he was from the Imams of hadith, but he lost his memory at old age. Or he was very good as long as he had his books. And if he was narrating from outside his books, then he made many mistakes. So here we have praise and we have criticism. So these are the only three categories that exist. Okay, then he says تكلم عن مجهول العين ومجهول الحال. So speak about the first category, the one who is unknown, there's no biography about him, and we don't know his situation. He says Majhul al-Ayn, the one whose we don't have a biography of him, we don't know who he is. هو من ذكر اسمه, is the one whose name is mentioned. ولم يوثق ولم يروي عنه إلا راو واحد. He has not been praised. He's not been accepted by the scholars of hadith. And only one person narrates from him. No one else narrates anything from him. But we know his name. This is Majhul al-Ayn. And then he says an example of this is Abu al-Ashra al-Darimi. Abu al-Ashra al-Darimi. فهو من التابعين ولم يروي عنه إلا حماد ibn Salama. He's from the Tabi'een, second generation, but no one has mentioned his praise of him or accepted of him, and no one narrates from him except one who is Hamad ibn Salama. We need somebody else as well. There has to be at least two people to narrate from someone to remove the unknownness. To remove it, we need at least another person to narrate from him. Then we have Majhul al-Hal. That's Majhul al-Ayn, we have Majhul al-Hal. هو من ذكر اسمه ولم يوثق ولم يروي عنه إلا راويين. Majhul al-Hal is the one whose name is mentioned by name. He's not accepted by the scholars, no one has said that he's acceptable. And only two people narrate from him. Only two narrators narrate from him.
That was the second character.
That was Majhul al-Hal. Now we're still in the first category.
So that's the second branch from the first category.
I don't know about the tree now, I'm lost with the tree.
Trees.
We had the two branches, we're talking about the one whose name is mentioned,
First branch.
the first side of it.
Mention an unknown.
He's unknown, then he's the one who's unknown in biography and unknown in his situation. And then we talked about unknown in biography. What does it mean? It means that we know his name, but no one has accepted him, and only one person narrates from him. That's Majhul al-Ayn. And then we have within the same category Majhul al-Hal, who is the one who is known by name. No one has mentioned that he's acceptable, but two people narrate from him. There's a difference of
One.
how many people narrate from him.
The biography is not known.
Biography is not known. We don't know who he is, but we know his name. Well, what is really meant by biography is we don't know what the scholars of hadith have to say with regards to his narrating. We might know his name, we might know his father's name, we might even know his grandfather's name, we might even know where he comes from. We might even know when he was born, when he died. That still doesn't remove Jahalat al-Ayn, because we don't know his situation. We don't know if anybody's accepted him. That's what more of Ayn is. We don't know his if he's acceptable, and only one person narrates from him. So he says the result of this type of unknownness, even though it's not a word, this jahala, this ignorance that we don't know, is what? What do you think the result of it is? If we have somebody in the narration who's Majhul al-Ayn or Majhul al-Hal. Yes. It's weak, but it's a simple weakness, which can be removed by supporting narrations. Remember, all simple weakness can be counteracted by bringing more supporting narrations, as long as it's simple weakness.
How do you say that in Arabic? Is there a term for it?
For what? Yeah. What do you call it? Jahalat al-Daif Yasir. Daif Yasir. Simple weakness. If it's Daif Jiddan, then no, we can't do anything about it. If it's extremely weak, then we can't do anything about it. Then we can't bring it up. But we could bring it up to Hasan li ghayrihi if it's a simple weakness, and we mentioned that before. Then he says, وَيُلْحَقْ بِهَا الْمُهْمَلِ. he says we can attach to this term, this branch of people, the one who is muhmal. What is muhmal? Anybody give me a good translation for muhmal?
It's unknown, useless.
Huh?
Useless.
It's not useless. It's just nobody cares about it. It just leaves it.
Relevant.
Irrelevant? No, just left out. Basically, it's left out. Like if you left something here and went out and somebody said, "What is that?" He said, "Shay muhmal." That's something nobody wants, nobody cares about. This is muhmal. Okay, but in hadith it's going to mean something else, right? And muhmal is like Abdullah ibn Muhammad. Who is Abdullah ibn Muhammad? Abdullah, the son of Muhammad. How many Abdullahs are there and how many Muhammads are there? This is muhmal. فهو من ذكر اسمه is the one whose name is mentioned. ولكن بقدر المشترك بينه وبين غيره. But in a way, it could be anyone. This is muhmal, which is same as the majhul al-ayn and majhul al-hal. Somebody that the way the name is mentioned, it could be any number of narrators, because they all have the same name. Yes, it's not like somebody with a distinct name. Only a few people have. Abdullah ibn Muhammad. How many Abdullahs are there who are sons of Muhammad? If you look in the books of Hadith, thousands of them. And which one is it? Okay, so that brings us to Jahala. There's some uncertainty about who he is. Okay, then he mentions a point of benefit which is kind of connected, but not so much. He says, from the people who accept the majahil, majhul, majahil. Majhul is somebody who's unknown, and majahil is the plural. Is those some of those who accept them are Ibn Hibban, and Al-Ijli, and Ibn Sa'd. So when they are the only people who say this person is okay, then you stop and say, okay, we need somebody else. Because you say okay to people who are unknown. Okay, how do the scholars know that? That these three, and there's more than these three, accept people who are unknown and say, okay, no problem, they're fine. How do they know that?
They've been narrating.
From generation.
From looking at other scholars and what they've said about these people, and how no one said anything except these guys, and they're coming up with things that nobody's ever heard of. So watch out for Ibn Hibban, watch out for Al-Ijli, and watch out for Ibn Sa'd. Don't go with them if they're alone. For example, if you come a hadith and the only person who says that this person is authentic is Ibn Hibban, say, okay, we'll stop there. It's not authentic until somebody agrees with you. Same with Ijli and same with Ibn Sa'd. Okay? Reason why some of them did this, like Ibn Hibban, there must be a reason why he said this. Because he says the general principle with regards to Muslim is that they're trustworthy. So if I don't know who they are, then they're trustworthy. Yes? Good principle. Husn al-dhan. This is not the correct principle in hadith. In hadith, this is not the principle. The principle is what? No, I don't accept it until I know that he's trustworthy.
Yeah, that's opposite.
It's not that I think that he's not authentic. No, it's I don't know until I have verification that he's acceptable. And that general principle that Muslims are trustworthy is not applied here in narrating hadith. It's applied everywhere else. Like when you enter a masjid, and you've never been in the masjid, you assume everybody is upon the madhab of Ahl Sunnah. You don't go in the masjid and think, no, these are deviants. I better check their aqidah before I pray here. No. You assume that they're upon Ahl Sunnah wal Jama'ah and you pray behind them. As long as you don't see or hear anything from them which is incorrect, which shows that they're not from Ahl Sunnah. Like you might see big Ya Ali as you walk in, then you know, okay, these are not from Ahl Sunnah. Yes? But if you don't see Ya Ali or say anything, and you just see Ya Allah, well, everything looks fine, then you assume they're upon Madhab of Ahl Sunnah wal Jama'ah, and you pray behind them. But in Hadith, no, you stop, and you check first. So in Hadith, it's a different situation. And also, he says Adala is not, you can assume that they are trustworthy, yes? But it doesn't mean that they're accurate. Yes, somebody can be trustworthy, but doesn't mean he's accurate in what he narrates. True or not true? Yes? You might be very trustworthy, you never lie. However, your memory is useless. Yes? So he said, for a narration to be authentic, there has to be adala, which is trustworthiness. But on top of that, there has to be dhabt, there has to be accuracy.
Qadh is the same thing. Qadh. Qadh.
Where's qadh?
Rather than taqdij.
حتى يتبين منهم ما يوجب القدح. قدح means disparagement or criticism. So even if we say that the Muslims are all trustworthy because we have no proof that they're not trustworthy until the proof comes to us, still doesn't mean we accept it because they need to be accurate in their narrating as well. So both sides, Ibn Hibban rahimahullah is wrong. But he's a great scholar of hadith. The strange thing is, Ibn Hibban, he's a strange case. Rahmatullah alayhi.
He's Sahih ibn Hibban.
He has a Sahih ibn Hibban, but it's not all of Sahih. But he's a strange case. He accepts people who are unknown, and he destroys people who are known. He accepts people who are unknown, and people who are known and good, he'll destroy them and say they're this, that, and the other. And when he disparages somebody, he leaves nothing. He'll destroy them and leave nothing for anybody to accept. So neither you can accept his authenticating someone, and neither can you take his criticizing anyone. You always need somebody to verify for him. Because some scholars, you find, they normally, either they're easy on the narrators, like Ibn Hibban, he accepts people who no one else would accept, or they're very stringent and they won't accept anyone. They're the mutashaddideen. Like they say Yahya ibn Ma'in, maybe it was mutashaddid, and some others were mutashaddid. An-Nasai, he was mutashaddid, he would destroy everyone. So if he says something like La Bas, there's no problem with him, know that he's great Imam. La Bas means there's no problem with him. That means he's actually an Imam. Because he'll destroy the person. Normally you have these two extremes, but Ibn Hibban brought both of them together. Rahmatullah alayhim ajma'in. Okay, وقد استغرب هذا ابن حجر في لسان الميزان وتعقبه المعلم قائلا ولو تدبر لو وجد كثير من الأئمة يبنون عليه. Okay, so this is just a point mentioning about what Ibn Hajar said about it. He mentions the statement of Ibn Hibban, how the principle with regards to Muslims is they're trustworthy, so we accept everyone, as long as they're Muslim. Then Ibn Hajar said that this is something strange for him, Ibn Hibban, to do and say. And then Al-Muallami, who's another later day scholar, not so a few hundred years ago, of Yemen, who says if Ibn Hajar was to look, then a lot of the A'immah do this with regards many narrators. So there's a lot of scholars, not just Ibn Hibban, who's by himself, who's accepting those who are unknown. But a lot of scholars of hadith in the past have done the same thing. So don't just attack Ibn Hibban. He's not the one, he's not by himself. So because Ibn Hajar was, as if Ibn Hajar was saying, he's one of the few who do this. So Mu'allimi is saying, no, there's lots. Okay.
But it's still not good.
No, it's not good. But Mu'allimi is saying that there's no reason for you to just single out Ibn Hibban. Okay, then he mentioned, and for this reason we find Ibn Ma'in. Who's Ibn Ma'in? Yahya ibn Ma'in, one of the great scholars of hadith, companion of Imam Ahmad. والنسائي الإمام النسائي وآخرين غيرهما يوثقون من كان من التابعين أو أتباع التابعين إذا وجدوا رواية أحدهم مستقيمة. Okay, he says that people like them would accept the narration from the tabi'een or the atba' tabi'een if they found their narrations to be generally in the same way as the narrations of others. So if they narrate, what they're narrating agrees with other narrations, then they would accept that person as a narrator, even though no one knows him. There's no biography or there's no tawthiq of him. Okay?
Could you repeat that? I didn't get it. So others.
So again, the Shaykh is trying to show that Ibn Hibban and Ijli and Ibn Sa'd are not the only few. There's lots of scholars who did this. But these scholars who did this, other than them, like Ibn Ma'in and Nasai and others, they used to accept the narrations of people from the tabi'een or the atba' tabi'een, that's the third generation, if they found what they were narrating was correct, meaning it agreed with other people's narrations, meaning it had somebody who backed them up, or it had another narration witness for them. Even if only one person narrated from this person who's narrating that they're accepting, and even if he only narrated one narration. You with me? Sure. Can't read your face.
No, it's
Okay. So basically he's saying that there are other scholars who did this, accepted them. However, they had a slightly different thing, that they accepted them with the condition of support. If we can find someone to support them, then we'll accept them as their narration is okay. And that will be a tawfiq for them. That will be an acceptance of their narrations. And then he gives us examples. فممن وثقه ابن معين الأسقع ابن الأسلع. What a name. الأسقع ابن الأسلع. Asla means to be bald. I don't know what Asqa means. So Ibn Ma'in, based upon this, accepts the narrations from Al-Asqa ibn Al-Asla. ممن وثقه النسائي رافع ibn Ishaq. Rafi ibn Ishaq as well is majhul. But based upon this, what we mentioned before, Al-Nasai accepted him. How did he accept him? On what basis? See if you were with it. He agrees with other narrators. He has support. He has witness to his narrator. Okay. So he says, based upon this, you need to وعليه يجب تتبع كلام الأئمة الجرح والتعديل للوقوف على اصطلاحه. That to know the meanings of the words and the usages and how they accept and don't accept, you need to read thoroughly the introductions and the books of the scholars of Jarh wa Ta'til to understand what they meant by what they said. You have to have a good understanding of what each scholar could use their own terminologies for things. Like At-Tirmidhi, when he's authenticating or not authenticating hadith, he has his own total terminologies. To this day, they're still trying to figure out what he meant by it. To this day. There's a difference of opinion. What does he mean? He says, هذا حديث حسن صحيح. What's that mean? هذا حديث حسن. هذا حديث حسن غريب. And other than this. What does all this mean? Yeah, and he doesn't tell us. To this day, there are theses written on what did At-Tirmidhi mean by these terminologies.
Yeah, so it's Sahih, I should read that Hasan.
Yeah, what does it mean? Is Hasan Ali Sahih as well? How does that work?
Strong Hassan.
Is a strong Hasan?
You must have said it.
Sometimes he does say هذا حديث صحيح. Sometimes he doesn't even comment. He says هذا حديث لا نعرفه إلا من هذا الوجه. This is a hadith where we don't know except from this chain. Okay, what's the ruling? Leave it to you. He never say هذا حديث ضعيف.
No, that's it.
He won't ever say. You want to hear him say هذا حديث ضعيف. The lowest he say هذا حديث غريب. This hadith is strange. غريب. Does that mean it's ضعيف? Or it's just strange? Okay, so you need to know what they mean by what they say.
I think Shaykh Al-Bani did work on that.
Shaykh Al-Bani has his Sahih of Tirmidhi and Da'if of Tirmidhi. So he separated them out and made what he believes to be Sahih and what he believes to be Da'if. And he separated them into two books. But Tirmidhi, what's his book called? What's the name of the book?
Sunnah Tirmidhi.
No, it's not Sunnah Tirmidhi. Huh? Sahih al-Jami'. Sahih al-Jami'. He calls it Sahih al-Jami'. But it's got narrations which are weak.
Was he before?
He was a student of Bukhari. That's why in some of the narrations, the good thing about Tirmidhi is a book of fiqh. Even though it has other things. Because he mentions the fiqh rulings of, after every narration near enough, or every bab, he mentions the fiqh and what the scholars of fiqh had to say on the issue. And also he mentions what Bukhari said about the narrations. So he'll say, I asked Muhammad ibn Ismail about this narration, and he said. So that's another good thing about the narrations. Okay, let's carry on. Where were we? ومما سبق يدلل على أن ابن معين قد يوثق جماعة مرة ويضاعفه مرة. Okay, another thing which is problematic is that Ibn al-Ma'in and others like him could accept a group of narrators at some time and then reject them at another time. This is a problem with some of these scholars. At one period they'll say they are acceptable. Another period they say no, reject all of them. And he gives the example of Abdul Wahid ibn Annan, that in one place he says he's acceptable, in another place he rejects it.
Maybe he found something later.
It's possible, but you might not know when. This one's before, this one's after. So now you need somebody other than him. When you have that, you need somebody other than him to see. And also, a group of ulama could authenticate somebody, whereas another scholar will say he's weak. And the example of this is Mu'ammal ibn Ismail. Mu'ammal ibn Ismail, who is the narrator of the hadith of placing the hands upon the chest. Mu'ammal ibn Ismail. He is the narrator of the hadith of putting the hands on the chest. So a group of scholars authenticated him, and another group rejected him and said he's weak.
There you go.
Just telling you, this is Mu'ammal ibn Ismail. He is the narrator of that hadith.
What if you have a person, the narrator, a lot of scholars say, a lot of scholars of hadith say he's weak, and a lot of scholars of fiqh use that hadith as a...
Scholars of fiqh are not a judge. Scholars of fiqh are not a judge. They have no connection to the hadith. Yes? So if scholars of hadith say that this narrator is weak, and based upon that narration is weak, then the scholars of fiqh can't say that this narration is authentic.
When I say becoming like Imam Ahmed, for example.
Imam Ahmad is a scholar of hadith. So Imam Ahmad, if he says the narration is authentic, then there's a good chance that it's authentic. The narrator is trustworthy. If somebody else, I don't know, say Imam Shafi, he wasn't a muhaddith. He says he accepts the narration, but the scholars of hadith say it's weak. Then the correct opinion is the opinion of the scholars of hadith, not of Imam Shafi. Because it's not his field. Even though, yes, he narrates hadith and he's acceptable in hadith, but he's not a muhaddith in that sense. He's not specialized in that. Perhaps. Allahu Akbar. But really, the issue comes back to the scholars of hadith. Just like scholars of hadith have nothing to do with the fiqh of the hadith. They don't care about what, well, they do care, but it's not their business what did the Prophet ﷺ mean by what he said. That's not their business. Yes? Their business is the hadith authentic or not. From the chain. And sometimes from the matan as well. That's in certain cases. But that's it. They're not going to give you what are the benefits from the hadith. That's not their job. Their job stops there at the hadith. It's authentic, not authentic. Then the scholars of fiqh take over. That's why Imam Shafi'i used to say to Imam Ahmad, if you find the hadith authentic, then let me know. Tell me that the hadith is authentic. Because Imam Ahmad was more knowledgeable about hadith than Imam Shafi'i. Then he says his own benefit that he gets from all of this, what he's saying, is that Ibn Ma'in, perhaps when he said the word thiqah, trustworthy, he didn't actually mean that he's thiqah. He meant that he doesn't lie. Therefore, he can accept and reject at the same time. On the same, perhaps this is a fa'idah that the Shaykh is saying, and Allah knows best. Any questions on that? The Shaykh kind of diverged a bit. It's looking like I have no idea what you're talking about. But no problem. Any questions? No? Okay. Then he moves on. تكلم عن الراوي الذي عدل فقط. Speak about the narrator who has only been praised. عدل. عد from عادل. عدل. But it's مبني which is a passive tense. Because we don't know who is the one who praised or accepted. So هو الراوي الذي لم يترجم له جرح. He's the narrator for which there is no criticism given. Or none of the biographers have given a criticism for. Hence his praise is mu'tabar. What's the good word for mu'tabar? Okay, considered. His praise is established or accepted. Let's say that's better. Mu'tabar. فُسِّرَ أَوْ لَمْ يُفَسَّرْ. Whether it's his praise is explained or not explained. Somebody could just say Imam. It mentions this man and it says Imam. What does Imam mean? Imam in what? That's it. If he says Imam, khalas. He hasn't explained to us. Or he could say Imam Hadith because of such and such and give us a whole reason behind it. Whether he gives us a reason or doesn't give us a reason, explains or doesn't explain, the praise is accepted and he's an acceptable narrator. Especially since he has no criticism against him. We still going? Okay. We can put these people into certain levels. Because not every one of them is going to be of the same level. I can do ta'adeel of somebody, praise somebody, but each person can be of a different level of acceptance. Okay? So he says, Ibn Hajar gives it a 4 level, puts them in 4 levels. So he says the first of them are the Sahaba. Those who are only be praised are the Sahaba. They're the top. You don't even look into them. There cannot be any disparagement about them. Allah praised them. If Allah praised them, khalas, what are we to say? We might not agree with everything that some of the Sahaba did. Yes? But at the same time, we don't criticize them. This was their ijtihad. This was their ijtihad, and Allah judges them, and Allah praised them all, and promised them paradise. So they're the first category, as-Sahaba. Second category is when they say, أوثق الناس أثبت الناس إليه المنتهى لا أحد أثبت من إمام الدنيا ثقة ثقات ثقة حافظ ثقة متقن ثقة ثبت ثقة حجة. This is the second level. He could say any of these, and he's just under the Sahaba in level of authenticity.
You could give that like one word or a phrase.
You can't give him one. أوثق الناس, the most trustworthy of people. أثبت الناس, the most accurate, it would mean. The most accurate of people. إليه المنتهى, everybody returns to him. لا أحد أثبت من, no one is more accurate than him.
Is that the best?
Imam al-Dunya. How do you become the Imam of Dunya? I don't know.
That's the best.
Thiqat thiqat. He is the most authentic of those who are trustworthy. Thiqa hafiz. He is trustworthy and hafiz. And they used to use hafiz for muhaddith, not for Quran. So he is preserving the narrations. Thiqa mutqin. Trustworthy and accurate. Thiqa thabt. Trustworthy and accurate again, but it's a different word. Thabt. Thiqa hujj. Trustworthy and a proof. He in himself is a proof. Okay, this is the second level. We have Sahaba, then we have this level. So this is the second level, and he has put some of them that perhaps are not used so much, and some of them he puts them from himself. The third level is when they only give him like one word. Thiqa. Authentic. Acceptable, yes? Mutqin. Accurate. Imam. Adlun dabit. Trustworthy, accurate. Adlun hafiz. Trustworthy and memorizer. Hujjah. He's a proof. Jahbith. Jahbith is like what's Jahbith? Somebody help me. Jahbith. It's like one of the great scholars. He's a Jahbith. Somebody who's high, very high. Perhaps authority, yes. Where did you get that from? From the app? Okay, good. Keep them coming. My translation is very bad. Again, these are not all of them have been mentioned, but Ibn Hajar mentions them from himself, some of them. The lowest of them is when he says Saduq. Saduq means, it comes from Sidq, to be true, but it's not thiqah. It's lower. He still can make mistakes. Okay? He's acceptable, but he can still make mistakes. Then we have La ba'sa bihi. There's no problem with him. Meaning he's not thiqah. But okay. We'll accept it. La ba'sa bihi, laysa bihi ba's, same thing. There's no problem. Shaykh. And Shaykh to them is like a lower, the last level. That's Shaykh. يروى حديثه ويعتبر به. His narrations should be narrated, and they used as supporting. So in themselves, all of these mean that there's a problem. All of these mean there's a problem, and really there needs to be support for these people. If they come by themselves, if there's other narrations surrounding it, then perhaps they'll be acceptable. But they will only come to the level of Hasan. They won't ever come to Sahih. The other lot will come to Sahih. This one will come only to Hasan.
Is that only the fourth one?
Even Shaykh. If the scholar of Hadith said, who is Shaykh? He's Shaykh. It means, okay, he's going to only be Hasan. There's a problem with him. For us, Shaykh, mashallah, top. No, that's not what they meant. Yes.
Is that it becoming Hassan? Is that only for the fourth one or third?
Now, for all of that line, they will be Hasan. There's always going to be a problem with them. So he says, all of these levels, the result of them will either give you Sahih لذاته. Yes, remember we broke up Sahih into two categories and Hasan into two categories. Hasan Sahih لذاته, Sahih لغيره, Hasan لذاته, Hasan لغيره. Yes. So these will give you either Sahih لذاته, especially the first 1 and 2. Then you will get Sahih لغيره, which is level 3. And then you'll get Hasan لذاته, which is level 4. Okay? Roughly. There might be people between the lot. In between. Okay? There might be in-betweeners, but here we have generally these are the levels. Wallahu a'lam. Any questions? ثقة ثبت. Good. Alright. Move on to the next question. تكلم عن الراوي الذي جرح فقط. Speak about the narrator who is only being criticized. No one's praised him. Poor guy. He's only been criticized. These days, that's most of us. Only been criticized, and no one's praised us. Allah musta'an. So he's the narrator has only been criticized, and there is no praise about him at all. The criticism is of 3 types, or in 3 ways. Let's say 3 ways. The first way is jarh غير مفسر, a criticism which is not explained. He just says something bad about him. Like he says, Dajjal. Okay? This is, Dajjal. Okay? That's not a good word. No? It's a criticism. But why is he Dajjal? What did he do? It's not mentioned. He just says it, Dajjal. Okay? وَهَذَا لَا يُلْتَفَتْ لَهُ. This type of criticism where there's no explanation is not acceptable. And you don't take it into account. And hence the person becomes unknown. His situation becomes unknown. And we mentioned the situation of people who are unknown. Narrators who are unknown beforehand. Yes? Refer back to your notes beforehand. We've mentioned the situation of people who are unknown. And how to deal with them. Okay, the second type of jarh is jarh mufassar. Is a criticism which is explained but is still unacceptable. Why is it unacceptable? Now my coffee's going to stop. Why is it unacceptable? Because the one who is criticizing him has gone to extremes in his criticism. Or مبالغة في الاحتياط, or either he's gone to extremes in what's احتياط?
Careful.
In being careful, extremes in being careful, or he's cautious. Look, another one. I need my own Google Translate. I just type in the words, comes out, and then I say something really out there. And Google comes out with some weird words sometimes. Sometimes it gets perfect. Sometimes he comes up with something that has no connection to the word. Anyway, so out of his being so cautious, or out of mistake, scholars can make mistakes. I know it's a new thing. For certain scholars who are not able to make mistakes, when they make jarh of somebody, that's it, as if it's wahi from Allah. Yes. Unfortunately, that's not the case. Scholars can make mistakes even when they're talking about people. So he says, out of being too cautious, out of making a mistake, out of anger. Out of anger, he's just angry with that person. He has a problem with that person. Yes, it happens. Yes. Remember, I mentioned the story of Ibn Hajar and Ibn al-Ain. Anybody remember the story of Ibn Hajar and Ibn al-Ain?
Yeah.
Only one person remembers the story. I'm not doing my job.
You mentioned here.
I've mentioned it here many times, I think.
They're related, isn't it?
They were one of them was married to the other one's sister. I think Ibn al-Hajar was married to Ibn al-Ain's sister, or something like that. And they were both deciding to do an explanation of Sahih Bukhari. So there are two explanations of Sahih Bukhari, and they're both called Fath al-Bari. No, Fath al-Bari, Ayn al-Sari. I think one has that name, one has the other name. Okay, but they're doing it at the same time. So, but they were teaching him in different masajid. So Ibn al-Ain used to say that Ibn Hajar only can do his sharh because my sister takes the notes and gives them to him, gives him my notes, and that's how he can do his dust. Otherwise, he doesn't know anything. Remember, these guys are Egyptian. Ibn Hajar is Egyptian and Ibn al-Ain is Egyptian.
It's published. Ibn al-Ain is.
Yes, published. The beginning of it is better than Ibn Hajar's, but then Ibn Aini got tired and didn't do as good a job at the end, towards the end of it. If he had carried on, they say, if Ibn Aini had carried on like he started, it would have far been greater than Fath al-Bari of Ibn Hajar. And Ibn Aini is Hanafi, and Ibn Hajar is Shafi'i. Okay, so they already had a problem. Shafi'i and Hanafi, so Allah mustaan. Umdat al-Qari, that's it, Umdat al-Qari, that's what it's called. Ayn al-Sari is the introduction to Fath al-Bari, I think. Umdat al-Qari, yes. Anyway, so one day the minaret of the masjid of Ibn Hajar, due to the weather or something, it fell down, collapsed. Yeah. So Ibn al-Ain, commenting on this, said it fell down due to the da'f al-hajar. It fell down because of the weakness of the stones, and Ibn Hajar's name is Hajar. So they say basically Ibn Hajar is weak. So Ibn Hajar replied. Ibn Hajar replied, saying, "No, it's due to Ain. It's due to the eye." Okay. The scholars have problems between them. Okay. So like you guys on your this and attacking each other night and day. The scholars had the same things. They were human beings. Some of them had problems amongst themselves, and so they would say things out of anger against the other one. Okay. I'm just thinking of another example. I can't think of anybody else right now, but there are many things. Like Abu Hanifa, there's so many scholars at his time who said bad things about him. Why? Because he what's the word? Outshined them. Outshined them. Yeah. He outshined them in his knowledge. That's it. There's our Google Translate for today. I always have a Google Translate in my lessons, always. Even in Arabic, we have it moves from day to day. Who's the Google Translate? So he surpassed. I forgot the word. He surpassed many of the people, and out of jealousy, they said bad things about him. Rahimahullah.
Is it big scholars that said?
Yeah, big scholars.
What scholars are they? They're jealous about.
Yeah, but still, they're human. In the end, they're human beings. Human beings. Even among the companions, sometimes one companion would say to another companion something that is not good. Like Abu Dharr said to Bilal, "Oh, son of the black woman." Yes? Is that something good? No. But in the end, they're human beings. Yes? Even Abu Bakr said some bad things to some other companions. I think he said something to Omar or somebody else. And they went to complain to the Prophet ﷺ. The Prophet ﷺ said, "Leave my companion alone." No, only for Abu Bakr. So in the end, scholars, the Salaf, are still human beings. Yes? So that which happens between human beings will happen. Yes? And that doesn't mean that just because somebody said something about somebody else, it has to be true. No, it doesn't have to be true. It's not wahi from Allah. So don't take it as wahi. Okay? For example, there was a fitna between, this is in the 90s, before the 90s, between some scholars. Shall I mention their names?
Yeah, go.
Shaykh Rabi, Shaykh Safar al-Hawali, and Salman al-Awda. When this fitna was taken back to Shaykh Albani, even though Shaykh Albani didn't agree with certain things that Shaykh Safar and Shaykh Salman had to say and did, when it was taken back to him, and it's on YouTube, you can find Shaykh Albani's statements on YouTube. Shaykh Albani, when he's talking about this problem, he says, you know what Shaykh Rabi is saying, and what he's saying, and what others are saying with Shaykh Rabi, is because they have a problem with Safar. And this problem is old. And this is why they're attacking him. You can hear it for yourself, Shaykh Albani says it. It's on YouTube, I was listening to it the other day. They had a problem when they were students. And Shaykh Safar surpassed many of these other sheikhs. And so, out of whatever, they had to find mistakes with him. And criticize him, and try and cause problems with other scholars. The major ulama, and try and get them put in prison, and this happened to them, that happened to them, and they managed to do a lot. Because the Shaykh Safar and Salman didn't agree with the Americans entering Saudi, and they said that this could constitute kufr because of getting help from the disbelievers and making allegiance with the disbelievers, which is kufr, and whatever. Yes. So, but Shaykh Al-Albani said before he even commented, and he said, I don't want to get involved in these tapes. He said, I don't want to get involved. He said that we know the problems that Rabi' had with Safar and Safar had with Rabi'. These are old problems. Don't bring the deen into it. So this is something that is known. Scholars are human beings in the end. They can say things that are wrong and do things that are wrong and unacceptable. And you accept that from them, that they're human beings. But you don't follow them in their mistakes. Okay, so that was the reasons. I mentioned one more. Anger and mizah, or that he was joking. He might say Dajjal as a joke. He might say, no, hada kadhab. And he's joking about it. Just like you do when you talk about, it was just a liar, mate. Yes? You don't actually mean he's a liar. He's just joking with him. Again, this shows us the human side of our ulama. They are humans in the end. Okay. وَمِنْ أَمْثَلَةِ الْمُبَالَغَةِ فِي الْإِحْتِيَاطِ. And from the examples of going to extremes in being cautious is قال جرير رأيت سماك بن حرب يبول قائما فلم أكتب عنه. Jarir, who is a scholar of Hadith, says, I saw Sammak ibn Harb, who was a narrator of Hadith, urinate standing. So I never wrote any of his narrations. What did he do wrong? Nothing. Except he's thinking, he's not implementing what he believes to be the sunnah, which is to urinate sitting. Okay? Therefore, he's not implementing part of the sunnah, khalas. End of story. X. So this is going to extremes in being cautious. We're just going to extremes. Yes? Another example, he says, قِيلَ لِلشُّعْبَةِ لِمَا تَرَكْتَ حَدِيث فُلَانٍ. Why did you leave the narrations from such and such? قال رأيته يركض على برذون. This is really extreme. He says, because I saw him riding a pony. Because I saw him riding a pony. It's not befitting of a scholar to ride a pony. He should be riding a horse. That's befitting. Or a camel. That's befitting. But a pony, khalas, no more hadith from him. And Shu'bah is known for these kind of things. Shu'bah, mashallah. He's the one that had the dog. Remember the dog? The order of good and prohibitor of evil. Shu'bah is known. The third example he gives, ذكر ابن يونس في تاريخ مصر محمد بن بشر الزنبري المصري فقال عنه لم يكن يشبه أهل العلم. قلت والسبب. Okay, so Ibn Yunus, another scholar of hadith or biographer, who wrote Tarikh Egypt, the history of Egypt. It doesn't mean the actual history of Egypt, but the biographies of scholars of Egypt. That's what it meant. Okay, when he was mentioning Muhammad ibn Bishr al-Zambari al-Misri, he says about him why he's not acceptable is he didn't look like a person of knowledge. He didn't resemble the people of knowledge. Therefore, you can't take narrations from him. And then the Shaykh says, "Qultu." This is the Shaykh himself now. Oh, it could be, no, it's the Shaykh himself. He says the reason for that he went out in a procession with the ruler. He went out in a procession with the ruler. When the ruler was going to go out to make jihad. So the ruler goes out with his procession of people and the army or whatever, but he's going to make jihad. And he went out to bid farewell to the ruler. Therefore, he's not like the people he doesn't resemble the people of knowledge because of that action. Therefore, you can't take hadith from him. Okay. Can you see what scholars of the past were like and what the scholars of today are like? This was enough for him not to take his hadith. I'm not saying this is correct. That's not a reason to not take hadith from him. But this is how they were. A fourth example. قيل للحكم بن عيينة I think عيينة لما لم تروي عن زاذان قال كان كثير الكلام. الله المستعان. It was said to Al-Hakam ibn Uyayna, why don't you narrate from a person called Zadhan? He said he used to talk a lot. So, that's enough. You just talk too much, that's enough. We can't narrate from him. So that's it, we're all weak here. Nobody will take hadith from us. We talk too much. Okay, in such a case, if the person is where is the number 3? I don't know why he's mentioned. Where's number okay, he's okay, the third example is Jarh Mufassar wa Mu'tabar, is the criticism which is accepted. And it is of different levels, downward going levels. You have upward going levels and you have downward going levels. Jannah has darajat, yes, upward levels. Jahannam has darakat, downward going levels. So we have in Arabic 2 ways of describing levels. Levels going upwards is darajat. Levels going downwards is darakat. Okay? Arabic is very specific. So he says it's darakat. Minha, from it is su al-hifz wa ma kana fi rutbati. So the easiest level of an acceptable criticism is for somebody to say he has a weak memory, and something like that. That's the easiest, the lowest level, or the highest level of jarh, or the lowest level of jarh. I don't know. It's the first daraka. It's the first level of criticism. It's the first level. The least criticism. Yes, it's the least criticism. The next one is going to be harsher than that. So he says this type, this weak memory, is simple weakness. Again, it can be, we can support it and bring it up to hasan li ghayri. The next level, or the harsher level, is when they say kadhib or kadhab, وما كان في رتبته, that he lied, and that which is like it. Not always when they say he lied, they mean he lied. They mean he made a mistake. But they use kadhib. Like like Aisha said about another companion who mentioned something, I can't remember what the issue was, but she said kadhaba fulan, he lied. But actually what she meant, he made a mistake. Linguistically it's acceptable, he made a mistake. Or he's erroneous in his narration, or it can mean that he's a liar. Depends on the context of it. Okay. So he says, وَهَذَا ضَعِيفٌ شَدِيدٌ. This is an extreme weakness. If he's erroneous, or if he's a liar, then this is a harsh weakness. وَلَا يُجْبَرُ. And you cannot bring this up with supporting narration. This is finished. We're finished with it. Then he says, "Maratib darakat inda Ibn Hajar sitta." As for Ibn Hajar, then he has 6 levels. The Shaykh gave us him 2 levels. He says Ibn Hajar gives us 6 levels. What time is the Maghrib? Well, I don't think it's 6:15. Shall we stop at 6? Well, we stop at 6. Okay, so he says, "Al-ula akdhabu an-nas." ما أكذب ركن الكذب قالها العزدي في إسماعيل بن يحيى التميمي. أكذب الناس, the most lying of people. There's no one more lying than him. ما أكذب. How big a liar he is. The pillar of deceit. ركن الكذب, the pillar of deceit, a pillar of lying. Al-Azdi said this, that he's the pillar of lying about Ismail ibn Yahya at-Tamimi. So there is somebody who has this title of Ruknul Kadhib. It has the belt, Ruknul Kadhib. The belt in the different wrestling. Yes. I remember wrestling a long time ago. They had belts. I don't know if they still do. Okay, so he has the belt of pillar of lying. Okay, that's the first level, or the first. Then we have worse than this.
Gosh, he's already worse.
Worse than this.
He's already worse.
Dajjal. Wadda'. A fabricator. Afak. Afak is it's a harsh lie. Or it's more than lie. It's further than that. Kadhab. He's always lying. That's his trait. He's a liar. Yada al-Hadeeth. He fabricates narration. This is all one level. Yazidu fi raqam. He increases in the narration. This is lower. Actually he's doing the other way. So the first one was the highest level, the harshest level, and then he's doing the opposite of what we had. So he's doing darajat, so it should be darakat really. Anyway, so the first one is the worst level. The second one is less than that. The Dajjal is less than akdhab an-nas rukn al-kadhib. Makes more sense. Third one is less than that. Fulan muttaham bil-kadhib. such and such is what? Accused. That's it. Thank you. Is accused of lying. Yasriq al-Hadeeth. He steals narrations. And they still do it to today. People steal other people's work and put their name to it. This is sariqa. Saqit. He's fallen. Meaning it is unacceptable. Halik. Halik means actually to be destroyed. Dhahib al-Hadeeth. He's gone. His hadith, forget about them. Where are we now? Dhahib al-Hadeeth. Matruk al-Hadeeth. He's left with regards to hadith. Mujma' ala tarkihi. They are agreed with leaving him. Fihi nadhar. There is some question over him. Or sakatu anhu. Or they have remained silent. These two are only Bukhari. In the ghayr Bukhari. Other than Bukhari. Other than Bukhari. Bukhari means something else by those terminologies. Okay? So other than Bukhari means this level. Bukhari means something else by these terminologies. Bukhari had his own, like Tirmidhi had his own terminologies. Bukhari had his own terminology. He was very gentle, even when he was harsh. With his words, he was very gentle. The next level is Fulan raddu haditha. Such and such, they rejected his narrations. Mardud al-Hadith. His narrations are rejected. Dhaif jiddan, very weak. That's the fourth level. Fifth level, dhaif, weak. Da'afu, they weakened. They made him. They said he was weak. Munkar al-Hadith, in the ghayr Bukhari. Munkar means what's munkar? Come on, like Google.
Rejected.
Huh?
Rejected.
No, that's not good. Google's not good here. Munkar means it's worse than rejected. But it means mistaken. Rejected but mistaken. So this is other than Bukhari. When Bukhari says it means something else. Hadithuhu munkar or muttarib. His hadith are mistakes, or his hadith are muttarib, not inaccurate. Wahin as well. Wahin. He's wahin. He's not weak.
Why? With the mean?
Wahin. He's totally lost it. He's lost it. He's talking from somewhere else. He's not got it. Wahin. La yuhtajju bihi. He's not used as a proof. Then he says, the Shaykh says that as for this, the level of 5, level 5 is hadith which are dhaif shadid. Dha'f and shadid and la yujbar. Are hadith which are very weak and cannot be, all of these 5 that we mentioned, all of these 5 are hadith which are very weak and cannot be supported and brought up in any way. Any of the narrators, anything like this is said about them, then the hadith is weak, very weak, and cannot be supported and brought up to Hasan li ghayrihi. The 6th one, and the last one, is when they say Fulan fihi maqal. Such and such, there is something said about him. Da'if, he was, some scholars have weakened him. Fihi da'af, there is some weakness in him. Hadithuhu dhaif, his narrations are weak. Laysa bidhak, he's not that much. He's not that. Laysa bidhak qawi, he's not that strong. Laysa bil qawi, he's not strong. Laysa bi hujjah, he's not a proof. Ta'anu fihi, what's ta'anu? They've criticized him. Sayyul hifz, he has a weak memory. Layyin, he is flimsy. Layyin hadith, his hadith are flimsy. فيه لين. There's some flimsiness in him. Making up words. تكلموا فيه. Some scholars have spoken about him. And the Shaykh says that this level, the 6th level, is a weakness which is simple. A simple weakness, and can be brought up to the level of Hasan لغيره. And Allah knows best. Any questions? No? Alhamdulillah. Hopefully you memorized all of that. And you remember next week I will test you on it. I'll test myself on it. وصلى الله على نبينا محمد والله أعلم.